Hello, hello. It's Riikka Kovasin here. Let me just start the feed also from the computer so I'll see the comments better and take a seat at my table. Just a moment. So, hey Taina. Hey Ann-Christine. So happy you could join me. Hello Diane. This is something I'm recreating today, or something similar, maybe with a different composition or something. But let's see how it goes. But it's just a really easy journal page, nothing too fancy, just kind of talking about the way I art journal and build this kind of page, and about composition and that. So hopefully, oh, actually it seems that Facebook is not liking me today. The quality of the video looks horrid. I'm sorry about that. Not totally sure what's up. Last live it was okay, and now we're again okay. Now it turned better. Let's hope that stays. A couple of words in Finnish and then back to English again. Heipä hei kaikki siis suomenkieliset katsojat. Kiitoksia kun olette tulleet tänne. Jos on jotain kysymyksiä, niin suomeksi, englanniksi, ruotsiksi voi kirjoitella. Jos en satu nyt tässä huomaamaan, mulla on tuossa kyllä ruutu auki, niin jos en satu nyt huomaamaan, niin vastaan sitten liven jälkeen. And same in English. Welcome, welcome. So happy you could join. We should be done before Finnabair starts her Patreon live, so no worries, you can do both. If you have any questions, I have my screen open there, and you can just write your comments or questions there. If I somehow miss them, I will go through every comment after the live. And before I start, can somebody say that is the volume and, well, can you see and hear me? I think you can see me because I can see myself. There's some video signal alerts coming every now and then, but hopefully it will be fine. But how about the sound? Can you hear me if I'm talking on this level? Diana says okay, so I'm hoping that means everything is loud and clear. Perfect! Thank you, Diane. Thank you, Ingrid. Thank you, Diana. So, hi everybody! Just a quick, quick, easy little art journal page. We all need a little bit distraction these days, so let's get started. This is something I'm recreating, and I have another blank journal here. First I was thinking of doing the page to here, but then I would be going flat back and forth. But this way I can see the sample. The journal I'm using, it's from Finnabair line. I'm thinking this is a little bit older model. She has 3 of them, as you probably know. There's the little square one, which I also adore. Then there's this one, which is my favorite. And then there's the little a bit bigger one. But I've noticed that this one is my go-to, my favorite. The pages are just the right size. There's a couple of ways what I'm doing when I'm starting a page. If I'm creating the background paper all on my own, then I probably start with just cream colored cardstock. But this time I'm using a pattern paper. This one is from Prima, but actually it can be anything. I measured the journal earlier, so I need 11.5 centimeter piece. And then we have some extra. If you have a 12 by 12 sheet and you are using this size to journal, you'll get 2 like pattern paper pieces that are big enough to kind of cover the whole page. But as I did with the earlier, like the sample page, I'm doing this time also. So I think it was just short of 19 cents. Yes, I remember it correctly. So the other piece, as you can see, it's short. What to do? This pattern also allows me to put it whatever way. So let's put it this way, a little bit different. Because my husband always tells me that I'm doing bottom heavy pages. So let's try to do another one. But if you have like a pattern you would like to use, but it's a little bit short, then add something else on top. And now I made this a little bit too narrow. Well, okay, we'll go with that. And then let's put it from, I think that covers, hopefully. Well, I do have more book paper as well. So let's see if I'm going to grab another one, but for now I'm cutting a strip of paper and then a larger piece. So the idea is that I'm kind of hiding that this is too short with a piece of old book paper, and to kind of mask the transition that here's something, and I'm balancing it out by adding the same thing to the other page as well. Let me show you from the sample piece. Because, well, here I actually measured it before cutting, so you can't really tell that this piece is too short, and then there's the same pattern here, so it kind of goes nicely together. It immediately, because there's the kind of continuity, feels like it's a spread and not just a couple of pages. And also it kind of give you the linear diagonal composition already, which you can then enhance with other products. So let's get these in the journal. It's really seldom that I do the page directly, let's say, to this paper and start adding something like mediums straight on top. I usually add some kind of grounding, kind of breaking the blank page in a way. It might be just a smaller element, not the whole covering thing, but this also makes the page a little bit sturdier. But what it also does is prevents, if I'm then adding something really moist like watercolors or even alcohol inks, let's say. So another layer of paper prevents those from soaking to the other side, and then you have again just white starting point for the other page. These are quite thick, the pages, but still better play it safe. And this is just double-sided tape. Previously I used to use the soft body gels like gel medium to adhere pieces, but nowadays I prefer this one because it's faster. Dry adhesive, no drying times, no need to wait. This is Finnish book page I'm using now, but then If it's of language you can read, then this, what I just did, is a handy little distraction. Putting it upside down, so that prevents a little bit the words getting too dominant, let's say. But if you have pen pals, if you do swaps, or if by some miracle we get to travel someday again, then what's handy, even a newspaper or something from a language maybe you can't read, or that you can't read as well as your mother tongue, might be a solution for journaling. Or then you can use the paper as kind of a jumping off point. If there's a word that you want to highlight, for example, then you can just do that and start the page with that. Or make it kind of modern poetry. Just circle a couple of words and use those. I decided to mask the edge because I find it really disturbing that it's a little bit short. Now there's a kind of an edge and my gaze goes immediately to that. So let's mask it with another piece of the paper. Underneath everything it will be just fine. And this is kind of how it lead me. Okie dokie, now I think we are back. Are we back? We're back. Let me try to switch to the mobile thing. But how do I do that now? Okie dokie, now we're back. Fingers crossed. Okay, let's hope. I'll continue babbling and let's see how this reacts. Okie dokie, yeah. I was just saying that whenever I journal, or well, whenever I do a project, after all, it's more like I'm following my intuition. So I found that edge really disturbing because I cut the piece too short. So I added another piece on top. And then there's a fine kind of line element which I can then use as my composition kind of element later on. So it's my biggest kind of idea, or how do you say it, guideline is it's just paper. And this is, well, now I'm doing it live for you and I have a project that I'm recreating, but still it's kind of just for me, if you know what I mean. Like, it doesn't have to be a masterpiece. It's just something to distract me, to get my creative juices going, and that's the goal. So, okay, now we have kind of a composition going on. Nothing much yet, but there's a hint of it. So let's continue with that. The next layer is really easy peasy. It's not that visible after all the mediums and elements, but it's something that is a great way to break a blank page. It's a great way to kind of lead the eye in. And it's just masking tape. But it's a neutral color, so you can add any kind of color you want on top. it doesn't overpower, let's say, whatever you have going. Of course, you can use washi tape as well. Here we go. But also what you can do, which you can see a little bit forming here, I'm doing a grid. So all those little cross sections, these little points, guide the eye in. Hi Lena! So definitely I'm online if people are joining. Thank you for coming. But all these little kind of lines that intersect guide the eye in. As you can see, I'm now putting effort on this place and then this place. They are kind of balancing each other out. But also I'm thinking that the photo, let me show you that ready thingy. The photo is here. So here I'm thinking putting the photo here. So I'm not putting that much thingies underneath because then they are getting covered. So I'm building around it in a way. Then something I've recently grown into loving is medical tape. This is kind of beige colored cotton adhesive that is from pharmacy. It's meant for cuts or, well, like a band-aid. But as it's cotton and again neutral colored, it takes colors really well and it looks funky. And it's another little texture. So if you've seen that there's this pale pattern of blooms, then there's just a teeny tiny bit of letters, which usually go to any kind of project, and then there's this cotton kind of fabric tape coming on. So there's different elements. So there's different textures, different things for the eye to catch and study. I poorly adhered that, so let's put a tape piece on top. Get rid of the problem. This way or this way? Maybe this way. Okay. Enough with the tape. Then gesso. I'm using white gesso, but it could be clear as well, especially if you're thinking of continuing kind of the neutral tones, or if you have used, let's say, blue colors underneath and you want to show those beautiful patterns and not completely cover them, then use clear gesso. Why I'm adding gesso on top, it's partly on kind of masking, hindering, hiding some of the pattern of the book paper, so it's not that overpowering anymore. But I'm also adding mediums so that when I'm next adding colors on top, they won't bleed through. And I also have a little bit more kind of open time, play time with the colors, because they don't get absorbed to the paper right away. I'm using a palette knife to spread and kind of spreading and then erasing, let's say, so it's just a thin layer. I'm not trying to turn the project white. And I'm also kind of not going for an even layer. I want it to be a little bit rough and sketchy. Then let's move that aside. And well, here's a handy thing. I have actually put my stencil underneath the tripod. Okay, I got it without knocking out the camera. Now that the gesso is acrylic based, so it works kind of as an adhesive, so it's wet, so I'm going to use the heat tool to dry it, just that the delicate book paper doesn't torn when I'm adding the stencil on top, because that, well, I don't want you to see it. If that happens, then I would go around it, but let's prevent that now. It's not totally dry, but it's drier, so we can continue. Hi Vasilis, thank you for joining. If you're just joining us, then we are doing an art journal page, really easy peasy, just kind of letting go, following intuition. That's a hard word. Then I'm using a stencil on top. This one is numbers or something like that. I picked it because of the numbers, because in my opinion they go to any kind of page. So if you're doing a romantic, well, this is not that romantic, but still, there you go. If you're going for a more grungy effect, they will go. If you're going geometric, they will go. So that's, I think that's something handy to have in your stash, either text or number stencils, especially these kind of little ones, because there's so many possibilities you could use them. And no matter what's your favorite style of creating, they will go. Bye, Nina! If you want the actual name of the stencil, it's available in my blog. I'm so bad with these names. And what I used through it, it's just modeling paste. Now this is again acrylic based product, so I'm putting the stencil underneath my table in a bucket of water, and then I'll clean it a little bit later. So just that the medium doesn't stick to it. I'm usually kind of going with the flow. I'm usually just really quickly cleaning my stencils before continuing. Depending, if it's just acrylic paint thinly, then I might just leave it, but any kind of medium that might get the little gaps stuck, so the design isn't workable anymore, those I do clean. Then let's dry this a little bit. If you have any questions, now the horrid sound comes and I can watch the chat more closely. It's not dry yet, but I'll leave it as it is because it's so boring to watch me dry. And I'll show you the sample again. So as you can see, there's still stuff coming on top. But now let's make the roses. It's kind of another, when I said that number stencils Hi Nishika. Sorry, now I lost train of thought. Yeah, the number stencils are kind of handy to have in your stash. Then stamps is another one because you can use them as a background version, but you can also make your own embellishments, and they are kind of not one time use only, but you can use them many times. And how to make them a part of the page, kind of everything falls perfectly together, is to use the same color. Let me again grab the sample one. So as you can see, there's an acrylic. This could be watercolor, this could be ink color, whatever. I'm using Finnabair liquid acrylic, color Nude. But there's a color coming to the background. Then I'm also bringing it foreground to the embellishments. I'm using the same color to make these embellishments, so everything kind of goes well together because you are working with the actual same color. That's also kind of my style. I'm really fond of, what's it called, analogous, I have no idea if I said it correctly, analogous color scheme. So I hardly ever put contrasting colors to the same project, but again, it's your thing. But if you want something that will go nicely together flawlessly, will definitely work, is to use the same color in different layers. Yeah, I love those old font numbers as well, Johanna. Really beautiful and handy. So as you can see, I'm not painting a perfect little piece here. I'm just haphazardly adding paint to a piece of cream cardstock. So it doesn't have to be beautiful and perfect. It's just kind of turning this white cardstock to the same color as my background is going to be. I think that will hold the color, so let's move that aside and add some here. Now that I have the gesso, I'm able to work with the color more than if it would be ungessoed. Because like there, I'm not sure if you can see that, there is a place where I didn't have the gesso, so the paper will absorb the color immediately, which can also be a nice little detail. But wherever I have the gesso, I'm able to take a wet brush and kind of move it around. And I was able to put a blob of paint directly to the project without it being soaked, like a little dot there. What I usually do is kind of wiggle my brush. Again, not thinking too much. There's like this triangle shape here, and then there's another triangular shape here. Triangles are my friends. That's a kind of common thing I go for. Now I can make some places a bit more opaque color and some places a little bit less. This is liquid acrylic, but you can turn it more watercolory if you want. Just keep in mind, well, this is a somewhat absorbing surface, and gesso is a primer, so this will hold the water better than if you would paint on top of glass, for example, because there 30% of acrylic is the kind of maximum you can dilute without it diluting the binder that is in the paint too much. Then my favorite little way to kind of mask the hard edge between the colored and not colored areas, and also to add a little bit interest to the whole project. Splashes. So it's not that there's a harsh triangle painted blob anymore, but more it's kind of flowing into the unpainted areas as well. And for that I'm diluting the paint again with water to make it leave the brush more easily. Just some splashes. There we go. I'm thinking that's okay. Well, let's clean the extra. And then let's see if this one is, well, it needs a little bit of drying. Let me put that aside and let's concentrate on this lovely piece. Hello, hello, if you're just joining us, we are doing an art journal page here. This is going to turn into beautiful roses soon, so don't get alarmed if you see just a blob of paint on top of a piece of cardstock. So I'm using a rose stamp, but it could be any kind of other flower or bird or butterfly or what kind of different elements you then have in your stash that could make a nice embellishment or a background. To stamp it, I'm using Archival ink because that works both on top of absorbing and non-absorbing surfaces. But what I need to be careful now, because I'm stamping on top of acrylic, which is non-absorbing then because it's kind of a plastic layer, is I can't now run my hand across the surface because that would smudge my roses. I need to use the heat tool soon to actually heat set the ink to this surface. But if you're working with watercolors, for example, or inks, then you'd be fine just by stamping, but this kind of non-absorbing surface needs the heat set. Hoping that's enough. Yes, looks good. Now let's cut our roses loose. I was thinking beforehand that should I cut the roses or make some of the roses beforehand so you don't have to see me cut, but then I decided against it because there's luckily just 3 of them, so it won't take that long. And also I'll get to show you my way of fussy cutting. Some people love the craft knife. I'm just terrible with a craft knife. It doesn't do it for me, so I'm using scissors. And if you use scissors, then it's kind of the scissors stay put and the paper moves. I'm right-handed, so my left hand is kind of moving the piece around so I get the rose cut, and also kind of take little shortcuts As you can see, I'm cutting some of the elements off. For example, I'm not cutting the little bud in all of them, because when you have the thing cut, your eye kind of gets fooled, or it's not your eye, it's your brain that gets fooled, even though the lines continue. You are just happy with the rose and not wanting the bud, but it's a lovely element, so I'll add it here, but not to all of them. And also, you don't need to be, in this case at least, that particular. You can get away with not perfect stamping and not perfect cutting, but it's again what your style is. If you want to have it more precise, then use a stamping tool, for example, so you can get the same image a couple of times if the first one is not perfectly stamped. But this is a little bit grungy, vintagey thing, so not perfect flowers is very okay. Just the last thing, and here we go. Then almost dry. I need to, again, when I'm doing a live project, I'm really trying to think of ways or not drying all the time, but unfortunately these mediums take a little drying time, so sorry. Heipä heisen! Noin. So now we have this more or less, it's not perfectly dried, but it's dry enough for us to continue. Well, I mentioned the text and numbers before. Here's another text layer that's one of my favorites. I'm kind of using this quite often. I think the name of the stamp is Gothic book, and it's especially perfect if you want to hinder a transition, because the stamped texture is really delicate, and it goes again to most projects being a kind of old vintagey stamp. So it's another handy tool to have, and you could make your own kind of old book pages even with it if you run out of the actual ones. Then I need the ink color for one more thing. Where did I put it? There. As these are now the actual same color as the one I used in the background, I'm going around with the ink to give it a little bit more definition than just being of the same color. Being of the same color makes it blend to the background and kind of matchy-matchy, but this little detail makes it more like an embellishment. Lifts, that's the word, lifts it up from the background. Sorry, English is not my mother tongue, as you probably can't really loudly hear. There we go. then one more tape thingy, and then we need the photo, but let's add this one. In America you have something like a drywall tape that's something like this. Ours is more like a mesh type of thing. So this is actually done using a dye. A little bit like Punchinella in a way. But this is just craft paper with an adhesive, and then I used a dye to make it more like the drywall tape. Although I've used the actual Finnish European drywall tape in journaling as well. Again, it adds a little something, a nice fun texture, and as it's adhesive back, so it's easy to add. Also, I'm hoping that this gives you ideas how you can use office supplies or even hardware supplies or something in your art journaling. You don't have to have everything ready from a craft store. You can make your own embellishments or make your own papers or add a little something that's not directly from a craft store that might turn the project more to your taste or to show more of you, like so. As you can see, there's a big gap now, so I'm kind of leaving some air around, or kind of thinking this one comes here, so that's why I don't hide everything underneath it. It's something I've learned in the long run, because when I started scrapbooking, that was the first craft I did, and used mixed media and my backgrounds, then when I added the photo, everything was hidden underneath it. So it's kind of coming together. If you are not sure about the composition where you're going to put, rather have it a little bit larger, because when you add the focal point, then usually something gets then covered up. This die is by come on, Marlene. Okie dokie, then we need to add a photo. Last it was a married couple. Hi Patricia. Oh, there's another married couple. Let's take them. Okay, no. This one is our daily Photobooth sticker pad. As you can see, I have lost my cover someplace along the way, but this stickers still work perfectly. So, and this is again just cardstock. I'm turning this more into vintage photo style thing by adhering it to something, because I want to use foam tape to adhere it to my page. Well, you can add the foam tape directly underneath a sticker. Adding some cardstock underneath helps. And then let's turn it a little bit smaller, like crop it. I can add the name of the Stencil. It's actually from a mini album pack, I think. That Stencil die. Later, I will get that for you. Hello, Katerina. I'm not sure I did say your name correctly. Sorry about that. Then inking around the edges of the photo again. kind of following the same thing that I had with the embellishments. So this one is coming here, then we will have one of the roses here, then we will have some metal bits. Be in the moment. Lovely art stickers. These are an Art Daily sticker book, also from Finnabair line. And it's called Photobooth, if I remember correctly the term. I can then add the link to the product for you, Sanna. Here we go. That's just a paper clip. Then we need some thread here. Hi Amy. Hi Christelle. I'm just adding almost the finishing touches, not quite, but almost. Kind of putting the composition now together. So these are kind of mix of bought embellishments from Finnabair line and then self-made using just, well, Finnabair stamps. Let me again show you the sample one, because here I put the photo here and the roses go to the other direction, but here I'm thinking photo will go here and then roses will go this direction. And that one will go there. Let's add here that just regular craft glue for the metal. I think this called mechanical labels, if I remember correctly, that one. And then foam tape for the photo. Shall we go extra high or just regular high? I'm loving dimensional pages, so usually my journals start to be really kind of, they don't close anymore when I have many of the pages done, and to me that's a sign that it's a good use of that journal. Some foam tape. In here it's also needed because this one is dimensional embellishment, so I need something to raise that one up. It doesn't have to be foam tape. By all means you can use just pieces of cardboard boxes. Johanna is writing that there's some problems reaching my blog. Okay, there might be some issues then going around. I was able to reach my own blog a little while ago when I put the link to the kind of Facebook live announcement post to the event. So then it was fine, but I'm getting the notification from that Facebook that the signal gets interrupted every now and then, so maybe there's a bigger problem with... Amy has no problems, so maybe it's just a Finnish thing then. Craft glue for the roses. I left this kind of not fully adhered, so I have some wiggle room. Let's put that and then this one here. I did have some, sorry about my hand, some stickers here. Because now I'm thinking something is needed there. Let's use that. I want to ink the edges of the sticker as well. Make it a little bit more dimensional looking and fitting to the other elements. Like so. Yeah. Then just little metal details. There's going to be one. Again, as you can see, no thinking. Just dip, dip, dip. Done. Okay, then this one there. Now I'm putting the words here probably. Yeah, let's go with that. It was my first idea though, so let's follow that. Then all is left to add some text. This is just one page from the Art Daily sticker pad. Sentiments, I think it's called. I think we are going with breathe in, breathe out. Oh, maybe we could just breathe here and breathe in, breathe out there. Let's be experimental. Like with the sample page, I'm just adding a little kind of shadow around the sticker. That's maybe a good advice nowadays. Just breathe. Every once in a while, just that is enough. I don't know about you, but at least to me, creating and journaling, even if there's no actual journal, like I don't write to this page, for example, then that helps. You kind of close everything else outside for a while. Let's go with that heart. Thank you, Maria. Breathe. Now to leave, yeah, we are cutting this one in two as well. As you could see, it was the whole kind of sentence or line, but I broke it to smaller pieces to fit my composition better. So it's kind of mirrored. Here it's going along this side and here it's going along this side. All started with kind of too short of a piece of pattern paper and hiding it and then balancing it out with another piece. And you remember that I cut the piece a little bit crooked or didn't follow the measurements there, and I put another piece in, and you can't really tell that there's a line or an addition there anymore, even though the letters actually, I can see an M going this way and these are going the other way around, but still it doesn't bother me at all. It's there. So we are done. Just an easy art journal page. Just a little bit darker than my first go. This one is a little bit more like pinkish, baby pink toned, especially the flowers. These are a little bit more solid, vivid color. But this is a young couple, so maybe they are more rosy colored, and these are just needing a little bit more color, the older pair. Thank you so much for coming. If you're joining Finnabair's Patreon live, it's in 5 minutes, so I made it on time, even though we had a little bit of connection problem between. Thank you so much for coming. If you have any questions, just leave them there. I'll just clean up a little bit and then start going through the comments. And same in Finnish. Kiitos kaikille. Jos on mitään kysyttävää, niin ei muuta kuin kommenttia tulemaan, tai sit voi laittaa aina viestiä. Ja kaikkea hyvää, hyvää illanjatkoa, hyvää viikonloppua. So thank you so much for coming. I hope you had lovely time. I hope you got some new ideas or tricks, or even if you just enjoyed the process. So thank you so much. Have a lovely weekend, and I'll be seeing you next month here in Finnabair and Friends group. Bye for now.